Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fluently. Today, we are going to talk about something very important for your English learning journey. Don't stop if you make mistakes. Learning a new language is not easy, but making mistakes is a part of the process. So, in this session, I will share powerful techniques, real-life stories, and tips to help you build confidence and speak English fluently. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for daily English learning tips. One day, one of my students asked me, "Teacher, I keep making mistakes when I speak. I feel so embarrassed. What should I do?" I shared with him a simple truth. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. If you never make mistakes, it means you're not challenging yourself enough. The key to learning English fluently is to accept mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. Many English learners hesitate to speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. They worry that people will laugh at them or judge them. But think about this. Even native speakers make mistakes. The difference is that they don't stop speaking just because they made a small error. Instead, they correct themselves and move on. You should do the same. Let's take an example. Imagine you're in a cafe and you want to order a coffee. You say, "I want a coffee, please." This is a small mistake. It should be, "I want a coffee." But guess what? The barista still understands you. The purpose of language is communication, not perfection. So, don't let small errors stop you from speaking. Did you know that the best way to learn English is to make more mistakes? Think about how children learn their first language. They say things like, "Me go park," or "I goed home." These are mistakes, but no one stops them from speaking. Instead, they keep practicing, and over time, they get better. As an English learner, you should follow the same approach. Speak as much as possible, even if you make mistakes. The more you practice, the faster you will improve. Instead of thinking, "I made a mistake, so I'm bad at English," say, "I made a mistake, so I'm learning." Even if you are not sure about the grammar, say the sentence with confidence. People will understand you better. When someone corrects you, don't feel bad. Take it as a lesson and try to remember the correction for next time. The more you speak, the more natural English will feel to you. One of my students, Maria, moved to an English-speaking country. She was afraid to speak because she thought her grammar was not perfect. But she decided to challenge herself. Every day, she spoke English with people in stores, restaurants, and on the bus. At first, she made a lot of mistakes. But after a few months, she became fluent because she kept practicing and never gave up. Another student of mine, Raj, had a different problem. He knew a lot of vocabulary, but was scared to use it in real conversations. One day, he decided to push himself out of his comfort zone. He started talking to strangers in English, even if it was just small talk. "Hello, how are you? Nice weather today." These little conversations gave him the confidence to speak more. Within 6 months, he was having full conversations without hesitation. Then there's Sarah, who struggled with pronunciation. She was afraid people wouldn't understand her accent. But instead of staying silent, she started recording herself reading English books out loud. Every day, she practiced pronouncing difficult words and listening to native speakers. Over time, her pronunciation improved, and she became more confident in her speech. To help you overcome the fear of making mistakes, try these exercises. Record yourself speaking. Choose a topic, speak for 1 minute, and listen to your recording. Notice your mistakes and try again. Practice with a friend. Find a language partner and Practice daily conversations. Think in English instead of translating in your mind. Try thinking directly in English. Use simple sentences. Don't try to make complex sentences at first. Use simple words and structures to communicate clearly. Read out loud. Reading helps improve pronunciation and confidence. Challenge yourself to speak in public. Start with simple interactions like ordering food and gradually build up to longer conversations. Join an English club. Interact with others who are also learning English. Practice makes perfect. Success in English learning is about persistence. If you stop every time you make a mistake, you will never reach fluency. Instead, see mistakes as stepping stones to success. Remember, every fluent English speaker was once a beginner who made mistakes. So, next time you make a mistake, smile and say, "I'm learning." Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep improving. Let me end with the story of Tom. Tom was 60 years old when he decided to learn English. Many people told him it was too late, but he didn't listen. He practiced every day, even when he made a lot of mistakes. He watched English movies, read books, and spoke with anyone who would listen. After 2 years, he could have conversations with native speakers. His story teaches us that it's never too late to learn and improve. Ali was one of my students who had a strong desire to learn English, but always hesitated to speak. He would spend hours memorizing vocabulary and practicing grammar exercises. Yet, he avoided conversations because he was afraid of making mistakes. One day, I encouraged him to join an English-speaking meetup in his city. At first, he was nervous and barely spoke, but as he continued attending and making small mistakes, he realized that people didn't judge him. Instead, they helped him improve. Within a few months, he started expressing his thoughts more freely, and today, he confidently speaks English with ease. His journey reminds us that practicing with real people is one of the most effective ways to improve. Rahman was another student who faced a different challenge. He had excellent listening skills, but struggled with forming sentences correctly. Every time he tried speaking, he would get stuck, searching for the right words. I advised him to start thinking in English rather than translating from his native language. He began describing his daily activities in English to himself. When he woke up, he would say, "I am getting out of bed now. I will brush my teeth and make breakfast." This habit gradually rewired his brain to think in English naturally, and soon enough he was able to hold conversations without hesitation. I also remember one of my old students, Fatima, who had a strong passion for reading but lacked confidence in pronunciation. She used to read books silently, thinking that was enough. But when she tried reading out loud, she realized she struggled with pronouncing many words. To help her, I suggested she record herself while reading. At first, she cringed at the sound of her voice, but over time, she started noticing her mistakes and correcting them. Within a few months, her pronunciation improved significantly, and she no longer feared speaking in front of others. Another student, Karim, used a unique method to improve his fluency. He loved storytelling, so he started making up stories in English and recording them on his phone. Every evening, he would narrate a short story, play it back, and identify areas where he needed improvement. This method not only improved his fluency, but also helped him become more creative with his use of language. Today, he is a confident English speaker who can hold deep conversations without overthinking. One of the most memorable students I worked with was Aisha. She was a perfectionist, always afraid to speak because she wanted every sentence to be grammatically perfect. I told her that fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being understood. To help her break out of this habit, I gave her a challenge. She had to speak English for 5 minutes every day without worrying about mistakes. At first, she struggled, but over time, she started focusing on expressing herself rather than being perfect. Now, she enjoys speaking English and doesn't let small mistakes hold her back. Another valuable tip that has helped many of my students is shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to native speakers and repeat what they say as quickly as possible. One of my students, Zubair, used this method with English podcasts. He would listen to a sentence, pause the audio, and repeat it exactly as he heard it. This technique not only improved his pronunciation, but also helped him sound more natural when speaking. Within months, he noticed a drastic improvement in his fluency. To all English learners, remember this. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. No one learns perfectly from the start. Every mistake you make is an opportunity to learn and grow. Just like Ali, Rahman, Fatima, Kareem, Aisha, and Zubair, you can improve by taking small steps every day. Whether it's speaking with others, thinking in English, reading out loud, recording yourself, storytelling, or shadowing native speakers. Every practice method brings you closer to fluency. The key is consistency. If you keep practicing and pushing past your fears, you will see improvement. English is not about perfection. It's about communication. So, don't let the fear of mistakes stop you from speaking. Keep learning, keep trying, and most importantly, keep speaking English every day. I have mentored students from all over the world, and some of them have become fluent speakers using unique and creative tricks. Let me share their stories with you and guide you toward your own fluency. One day, a student named Emma came to me. She was frustrated. She had been learning English for years, but every time she spoke, she hesitated, afraid of making mistakes. Emma, I said, the only way to overcome this is by tricking your brain into thinking you're already fluent. I suggested she start using the mirror technique, standing in front of the mirror every morning and talking to herself in English. At first, she felt silly, but soon she became more comfortable with the language. It built her confidence and helped her train her mouth and brain to work together. Then there was David, a businessman from New York, who struggled with pronunciation. He asked me, "How can I sound more natural when I speak?" I gave him a simple but effective trick, the whispering technique. I told him to whisper everything he read aloud in English. Whispering forces the mouth muscles to focus on articulation. Within a few months, his pronunciation improved dramatically, and he no longer felt nervous speaking in meetings. Maria, a medical student from Spain, had trouble understanding fast speech. "Native speakers talk too fast. I can't catch the words," she complained. I told her about the slow down trick. I advised her to use YouTube videos and podcasts, play them at a slower speed, and repeat what she heard. This allowed her brain to recognize common patterns in native speech. After a few months, she was able to listen at normal speed without feeling lost. Another student, Jack, had a different challenge. He could understand English well, but he struggled with speaking fluently. "I know the words in my head, but I can't get them out fast enough," he told me. I gave him the 1-minute fluency drill. Every day he had to pick a random topic, set a timer for 1 minute, and speak without stopping. Even if he made mistakes, he had to keep going. Over time, this helped him think in English and respond faster in real conversations. Sophia, an engineer from Brazil, was worried about grammar mistakes. "What if I say something wrong?" she asked. I gave her a challenge. Write daily mistake letters to herself. Every night she would write about her day in English, then read it in the morning and correct her mistakes. This simple habit helped her recognize common errors and improve her writing and speaking naturally. And then there was Michael, a software developer from Germany. He was bored with traditional learning methods. "I don't want to study from textbooks all day," he said. So I introduced him to the fun method. I told him to switch everything in his daily life to English. His phone settings, social media, even his favorite movies. He started playing video games in English, watching stand-up comedy and reading tech blogs. Soon, he was immersed in English without even realizing it. One of the most effective tricks I shared with all my students was the voice note challenge. Every day, they had to record a short voice note in English, listen to it, and compare it with how native speakers would say it. This helped them notice their pronunciation, intonation, and fluency issues, making corrections much easier. All of these students started with doubts, fears, and hesitation, but by using unique tricks and committing to daily practice, they became confident English speakers. The key to learning English is not avoiding mistakes, but embracing them and learning from them. If you want to improve your English, try one of these tricks today. Choose one that fits your learning style and make it a daily habit. Mistakes are just stepping stones to fluency, so never let them hold you back. One of my students, Liam, was always afraid of forgetting words in conversations. "What if I get stuck and can't remember what to say?" he asked me. I introduced him to the keyword trick. Instead of trying to memorize entire sentences, he focused on remembering key words. If he wanted to describe a vacation, he would note down words like beach, sun, and relax. Then, he built sentences naturally around them. This took the pressure off and helped him speak more fluently. Sophia, a fashion designer from Italy, struggled with confidence. "I know English, but when I try to speak, my mind goes blank," she said. I gave her the background noise method. She would play an English podcast in the background while doing daily activities. This trick made English a constant part of her life, and over time, she started forming sentences without hesitation. It trained her brain to think in English naturally. Noah, a chef from Canada, wanted to improve his vocabulary, but he found studying lists boring. "I can't remember new words," he said. I suggested the association method. Whenever he learned a new word, he connected it to something familiar. For example, he linked spice with his favorite dish. This helped him recall words effortlessly when he needed them. Aisha, a university student from Dubai, found listening difficult. "I understand written English, but when people speak fast, I get lost," she told me. I introduced her to the echo technique. She would listen to a short sentence, pause, and immediately repeat it. This helped her brain process spoken English faster, and within weeks, her listening skills improved significantly. Ethan, an engineer from Australia, had trouble with grammar. "I always mix up tenses," he admitted. I gave him the color coding trick. He wrote past tense sentences in red, present tense in blue, and future tense in green. This visual method helped him see patterns in grammar, and soon he was using tenses correctly without overthinking. Olivia, an artist from France, lacked motivation. "I start learning, but then I lose interest," she said. I encouraged her to use the gamification method. She set daily challenges, gave herself rewards, and even created a progress chart. Learning became a fun game, and she stayed motivated until she became fluent. Lucas, a musician from Brazil, struggled with pronunciation. "I can't say words clearly," he told me. I suggested the zinging method. He practiced singing English songs, focusing on pronouncing each word clearly. This not only improved his pronunciation, but also made learning enjoyable. Soon, he was speaking with more clarity and confidence. Emma, a lawyer from the UK, wanted to think in English, but found it difficult. "My mind translates everything from my native language," she said. I introduced her to the inner voice technique. She started describing everything she did in English in her head. "I am walking to the store. I need to buy milk." This simple habit helped her switch to thinking in English naturally. The biggest lesson I teach all my students is that fluency is about confidence, not perfection. If you make mistakes, it means you are learning. Use these tricks, practice daily, and most importantly, never give up. English fluency is possible for anyone who keeps trying. Thank you for being part of SEF Fluently. If you found these tricks helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue your English learning journey. See you in the next lesson.